Department of Children and Family Services adoption. She was 16, and you know, a lot of times 16-year-olds are not very emotional. They're kind of withdrawn. They're not like the little kids running around that are jumping on everybody's lap and making everybody laugh. And so we got to her adoption day, and when the judge granted her adoption, she just started bawling.
Yeah.
And it was so wonderful because she just felt like she had a home and she felt like she had a place, and that journey in foster care was over.
Sure.
And it just gives me chills to think about, because it was just so nice. You know, she walked in the room, she was real tough. She was, you know, here I am at my adoption, and she really just fell apart, but in a good way.
Welcome back to Season 2 of the 217 podcast, presented by Decatur Earth Mover Credit Union and hosted by me, Jess Younghouse. Thanks for listening and thanks for watching. We hope you enjoy it. Welcome back to the 217 podcast. We're here today with Drew Hickey, a partner at Bolin, Robinson, and Ellis, or otherwise known as Bre Law. So thank you, Drew, for joining us here today.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
So let's talk a little bit about, we're going to get into what you do at the law firm, but let's first talk about your relationship to Decatur. And you live here now? Are you from here? Were you born here? And just kind of tell us a little bit about that story.
I was born here in Decatur at St. Mary's, and we lived here the first 4 years, and then we actually moved to just out to Cerro Gordo. So I went to school for a few years out in Cerro Gordo, and then, but we've always been tied to the area.
Sure.
I mean, we're out there, but then I started going to school at St. Pat's and St. Teresa here back in town. So did that. After high school, I was actually accepted to a college out in Virginia. So I went and lived in Virginia for, 5 years. Then I went to law school in New Orleans. So I went down to New Orleans for 3.5 and then back to Virginia. And then I really just got homesick. I had been gone 9-10 years at that point, and just wanted to come home. So I came home in 2010 and took the bar and passed it and started practicing.
What was your favorite thing about New Orleans? Did you like living there?
I loved it. Yeah, I loved it. It was very exciting. So I actually started there in 2006, which was a year after Hurricane Katrina. And so New Orleans is a very celebratory place. They're always partying. They're always having a good time. And it was kind of extra celebratory in a way. I mean, I'm lucky because I wasn't there during Katrina, so I didn't have to witness all of that. But at the same time, when we came back, the people of New Orleans are so resilient that there were grand openings, grand reopenings. It was just all a party all the time. And so it was a lot of fun. A lot of fun to be there and just enjoy the culture and the food. I'm still carrying a few pounds from when I lived there.
Oh my gosh.
It was a blast.
I visited there a couple years ago for the first time, and I do think it was the best food vacation I've ever been on.
Absolutely.
It was wonderful.
Yeah.
I loved that place.
Me too.
Okay, so you made it back here in 2010, you said.
Yes.
When did you start at Bre Law?
In 2010.
Okay.
So actually, my connection to Bre Law is my stepdad is the R in Bre Law.
Okay.
So I have been connected to Bre Law for a long time. I have done almost every position there. I was the receptionist. I was the file clerk. I was an associate attorney. Now I've been an attorney. So I would actually spend my summers at Bre Law.
Okay.
And then when I came back, it was just natural for me to start my career there.
What made you want to pursue a career in law?
So it's funny, when I was in 4th grade at St. Pat's, we did a mock trial, and I was one of the lawyers, and the issue was how to spell the word prairie, and I won. And I went home that day and I said, I'm going to be a lawyer. And my parents were like, oh no, you know? Right. So it was interesting, but I just kind of stuck with it, and I just kept saying that, and I just kept working toward the goal. And then I passed the bar finally. So
is it true that all lawyers are good arguers?
No, not necessarily. I don't actually like to argue. When I go home, I don't argue much with my kids. I have 2 little girls, 5 and 3, and my husband. I don't really argue all that much because I'm spent by the end of the day.
Sure. Yeah.
And I just say, I'm not going to argue with you, whatever you want, because I'm tired. I don't want to I don't want to argue for free. I get paid to do that from 8 to 5. So, I mean, I would say I'm pretty good at it and good at negotiations, but not all attorneys are, no.
Yeah. What area of law do you focus in?
I focus in adoptions, minor and adult guardianships, estate planning, and probate estates.
Okay, so how did you get into adoptions and guardianship and stuff like that? What drew you to that area of the law?
So when I started out, a lot of the work I did, there was another female attorney in the firm, and she did a divorce and family type work. And I really just enjoyed working with her and felt like it was kind of a natural fit for me to do that type of law. So I just kind of got my feet wet. She needed a lot of help, so I just helped her. For the most part, I mean, I helped the other attorneys too and had a good experience with them, but hers was kind of the work that I was most drawn to.
Okay.
Then when I went out sort of on my own. So you're an associate, you're doing other attorneys' work, and then you start getting your own clients as a partner. So when I started getting my own work, because I knew how to do divorce, I did that, stuck with that. But divorce is hard, emotionally difficult work. And I just had too much of it. I was too heavy on divorce. And when actually that attorney moved to Colorado, she left some adoption files.
Sure.
And I took those over. And adoptions, for the most part, 98% of the time, are really, really happy.
Okay.
Everybody's excited. The kids are excited. You get to deal with babies. I've actually been in the delivery room about 6 different times.
Oh my gosh,
for 6 different kids. Yeah. So it's wonderful. And I just loved it. It was just the bright spot.
Sure.
And so I said, you know what? I need to do more of this because this is what I love and am passionate about. And so I started doing Department of Children and Family Services adoptions. So those are, I don't want to get into the specifics, but those are adoptions where pretty much rights have been terminated and you just come in and do the adoption part.
Okay.
Those are always a happy day. The families have been waiting years.
Sure.
So everyone's excited and happy. I do step-parent adoptions where a step-parent's going to adopt a child. Those are great. And then I do I do private adoptions as well.
Okay.
So it's just such a bright spot in my day.
Yeah.
And when I came back from COVID, actually, I was able to do 6 adoptions in one day. And it was just the best feeling ever to walk out and know that, that many kids are in safe homes. So.
Sure. What's one of your most favorite stories? Like, what's one that really sticks with you?
Well, one that happened recently, it was a Department of Children and Family Services adoption. She was 16. And, a lot of times 16-year-olds are not very emotional. They're kind of withdrawn. They're not like the little kids running around that are jumping on everybody's lap and making everybody laugh. And so we got to her adoption day, and when the judge granted her adoption, she just started bawling.
Yeah.
And it was so wonderful because she just felt like she had a home and she felt like she had a place and that journey in foster care was over.
Sure.
And it just gives me chills to think about because it was just so nice. She walked in the room, she was real tough. She was, here I am at my adoption, and she really just fell apart, but in a good way.
Right.
And so that's one that sticks with me. It just makes you feel good to be part of that.
That's really special. So tell me a little bit about what guardianship law is.
So guardianship law has 2 kind of prongs. There's several different, but the 2 main ones for going to court are guardianship of an adult and guardianship of a child. So a lot of times if adoption isn't necessarily the route that the family wants to take, they could obtain guardianship of a child. That shifts the decision-making from the biological parents to the guardian. So that it just depends on if they need, if the child needs a guardian, if the parents have passed away, or if the parents are missing for some reason, or whatever the case may be. So that's that. In a guardianship of an adult, usually those come about when, and this gets into my other area of focus, which is estate planning, because if you don't have, a lot of times if an adult doesn't have their documents in place for a surrogate power of attorney for healthcare or property, then if their mind goes or if they get into an accident or something like that and can't make their decisions, they need someone to be appointed by the court to be their guardian. So then we go through that. So if you do estate planning, which I always kind of tout this to my clients and potential clients, it's a very small few pieces of paper to put together a power of attorney, but they can save you thousands in litigation later and save your family a lot of heartache and a lot of delay with the courts. So guardianships of adults are certainly necessary, but they can be avoided with just kind of minimal planning.
Sure. So talk a little bit about estate planning. You did a little bit there, but why I just personally recently went through this, doing that kind of process. It was probably, long overdue. But we did do it. It is very easy. So just talk a little bit more about what that process looks like. What's the time commitment to get something like that done for you or you and a spouse or whatever, and then the long-term benefits.
Sure. So the time commitment can be kind of tailored to you. Generally, I like to get my plans done in 60 to 90 days because if you keep it moving, you keep it top of mind for people. Really, the process looks like I can send you or you can send me a filled out intake form that just has all the information, what your objectives are. I generally use that information to have either a phone call or a sit-down meeting, whatever the client is most comfortable with. We can even do a Zoom or something. And go over your objectives, talk about the different options. And especially for families with minor children, I think it's important for them to have medical powers of attorney in place for the children, designated guardians. So just in case something does happen, there's someone already there designated a guardian. And also just to have your will and any trust, pour over trust type of information in place. You don't always have to set up a trust right now, but it's something that if you were to pass away, your assets can be used to fund your children's expenses. So I think that's very important, and that can be accomplished, like I said, in 60 to 90 days. We have our meeting. I draft what you want. I usually email it to you and have you look it over. If you have more questions, I'm happy to answer those, and then just come in and sign. So I know people get busy. That happens. It happens to me. You get busy. You're busy being a parent. You're busy living your life, and so you kind of forget. But like I said, I mean, I also do probate estates, which is when someone passes either with a will or without a will, and especially when they pass with a will, everything goes much more smoothly. Yeah. And you don't have to do all of the fact finding and different things that it's kind of all right there in a package for you. So I think it just makes it easier for your loved ones to handle anything that comes at them with regard to you if you've got the documents in place.
Right. Share that with people you know, and share that with your parents.
Yes, absolutely. Yes.
Make it easier for you. Let's plan ahead.
Yes, right? Yes, absolutely.
Okay, what else? What other areas of law does Bre Law focus on, maybe outside of what you do day to day, but what are some other types of law that they can help you with?
Sure. So we have a big divorce and child custody kind of subset of attorneys. We have 4 attorneys that do that. We handle class action litigations. We handle personal injury cases. So if anyone gets injured, we can handle those type of cases. We have an employment arm, so we can handle employment questions. And really, we have workers' comp. I used to say we don't really do workers' comp, but actually we just started with a new attorney who does. So we have that now. We don't. It's easier to say what we don't do. We don't do bankruptcy. And we can kind of refer medical malpractice cases, but for the most part, we don't take those. We do refer them. So really, whatever legal questions anyone in the community has, we're a great resource because you can come to us, and if we can do most of the things. If we can't do them, then we can get you to the right attorney who can.
Cool. So let's shift back a little bit to Decatur and what other things you have been involved in here in the community since you've been back here.
Sure. So I love to give back to the community. It's something that I kind of started early on in my career and have just grown throughout doing different boards, different things. I've really learned a lot about the community and some of the resources and how everything connects. So I really enjoy that. The first board I started on was Children's Museum of Illinois.
Okay.
So I loved that. That was so much fun. That was before I had kids.
Yeah.
So that was, but it was a great time. And then I was on the Decatur and Macon County Animal Shelter Foundation board for a while. Right now, and then I was on the St. Mary's Foundation board.
Okay.
Now I serve on the St. Mary's Board of Directors.
Okay.
So I've been doing that almost a year. I'm coming up on a year for that one. I serve on a pro bono board, Public Interest Law Initiative. It's the 6th Circuit, so it's Macon and surrounding counties. It's making sure that the community has access to public assistance or pro bono attorneys.
Yeah, let's talk about that for a little bit. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Okay. Why is that important?
Well, it's important because legal services, frankly, can be very expensive and intimidating to people. That's something that I deal with in my career. I like to think that I'm not an intimidating person. I like to feel like people can come to me with questions and ask me anything and be more accessible. But a lot of times when you think of a lawyer, you think of a stuffy old office and somewhere most of the time you don't really want to be.
Sure.
So the access to pro bono attorneys is important because that way it's just more accessible to people who may not have a few $1,000s to spend on an attorney, or who just have questions that need to be answered. There's actually a help desk run at the courthouse. It's virtual now since COVID. It's been mostly virtual, but you can anyone can sign up for a slot. You do have to qualify, but you just sign up for a slot. You have access to an attorney and they give you half an hour, 45 minutes of their time. I actually had a guy, so I usually represent grandparents or proposed guardians and guardianships. However, I had a guy come in and his mom or his mother-in-law, I don't know who, had filed a guardianship for his child, and he didn't want the guardianship. He wanted to take care of the child. And I said, I can help you with that. I know, I know what to do. So I showed him the forms. I directed him to the clerk's office. I kind of was able to walk him through step by step what to do to get involved in the case. And so that was rewarding to be able to do that. And so it's important because, like I said, not everybody has that accessibility to attorneys.
And so say again how people in the community can get access to that. How do they find out about it, or how do they go through that process or start that process?
Sure. So there's 2 ways I would recommend. The first way is if you go to the circuit clerk's office at the courthouse, which is on the first floor. You can just go in there. They have flyers they can give you. They used to run the clinic through the law library at the courthouse. Like I said, it's virtual now, but the law library also has resources and can kind of get you connected to the dates and times and the sign up for that Zoom. You can also just call in, I mean, if once you get the information, you can do a Zoom, but you can also just use your phone. And then the other way is go to Public Interest Law Initiative.org. Actually, it's actually just PILI.org. And you can scroll through their resources, and they'll have the help desk. There's a help desk that is a virtual help desk, and then there's also Illinois Free Legal Answers. And that's another place where you can just type in a question, and an attorney will answer it.
Cool. So what other stuff indicator are you involved in?
Well, right now I am really involved with my kids' school. They go to Maroa Forsyth. So my daughter's in fifth grade. My daughter's 5. She's in kindergarten, and my other daughter just started pre-K 3. So I am just trying to get involved in their school, being room mom, doing their parties. I just signed up for a slot to volunteer for the book fair. So I'm
book fair. Gosh, I love the book fair memes that are like, that's where I got the habit of spending money on stuff I don't need, the Scholastic book fair.
Thank you. And we were so excited. And last year, was my daughter's first year, actually. And so we actually thought we had missed it and forgot to send her money. And there's just no worse feeling. I felt like the worst parent ever. Yeah. Luckily, it went on all week, and I had the right week, so it was fine. But so now I volunteer to make sure, that they can participate. And again, we have more books than we could possibly read.
It's a rite of passage.
But it's fun. And I just remember, that's one of my best memories of school was the book fair. So I'm involved with that. I'm trying to think. I've got my board involvement, Decatur Bar Association. I used to be on the board of that. And so now I just kind of participate in the events and hang out with the other lawyers and we just talk. And
is the lawyer community a tight-knit community in the area?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes. We are really blessed here. I didn't really know that when I started practicing because I hadn't experienced it other places. Sure. But our attorneys are so willing to help.
Yeah.
The bar in general, they are willing to help, especially the younger attorneys. We're willing to help each other. We're all really good friends. It's just a great community. And when you go to a place like Chicago, even Springfield, it is much more cutthroat. Okay. It is much more competitive. Here it's collaborative. I'm going to call you. I'm going to help you answer this question. We're going to help our clients figure this out. In other places, it's a lot more, I'm better than you and I'm going to be better and I'm going to beat you in the courtroom. And here it's not really like that. So I'm very blessed to be here.
That's awesome to hear. I don't think people probably realize that that's the case, but what a good feeling.
Yes.
What's your favorite thing about Decatur?
My favorite thing about Decatur is it's hard to say just one. I'll say a few. I like that I never appreciated all of the agriculture around when I was growing up. I used to think it was really boring. Now I love it. I love being I lived in the South. They do have seasons in the South, but it's kind of hot and hotter. I love watching the seasons. I love watching the corn grow. I love watching harvest. I sound like I'm, 75, but I just do. I just love being around that. It's like being in this really active landscape.
Sure.
So that's one of the things I love. My family's here. We've got 5 grandparents or 6 let's see. 5. So my kids have their grandparents close, and everybody's here. We live just within minutes of all of the grandparents, so that is great. And just my friends here, and just such a sense of community and really beauty that I think when you grow up here, you don't really appreciate.
Sure.
Because with the lake and with all the different things to do, going to parks, we have a great park system. So you kind of take it for granted.
Yeah.
And then when you go other places, I learned to appreciate it.
Cool. And then the final thing, back to community, there's obviously a population here in Decatur and the surrounding areas of young professionals that maybe have been here all their life or have moved here for a job opportunity. We know the job market, there's jobs to be had and people hopefully moving to the area. What advice would you give to people to get involved, not just in their career professionally or at their business, but broader community involvement? What advice do you give to people?
Sure. So actually, my time on boards, I have learned that the Community Foundation website here in Decatur actually has a list of all the boards in town and really in Macon County. So you can go online, you just Google it, and their website has a list of all those boards. I recommend, of course, anything you're doing outside of work, you're donating your time. So you want to be interested in it and want to get involved. And so I would just look through that list. I think there's like 60 or 70 organizations on there. You can pick one or 2 or 7, but I've kind of made the mistake of being overcommitted sometimes because I get excited and interested. I want to do this. I want to do that. So start with 1, maybe go to 2, but certainly look into those organizations. Everyone here is really friendly, and especially boards. It kind of sounds fancy to be on a board, and I mean it is. It's a great way to donate your time. However, none of the boards I've ever been on have been stuffy.
No.
They've never been standoffish.
Yeah.
They want volunteers.
Yeah.
And even if you can't do board service, you can just volunteer with organizations.
Sure.
So anything you're interested in, there is a place to do it, and it'll connect you with other young professionals.
Mm-hmm.
It'll connect you with other people in the community, and you just learn so much.
Yeah, I have to second that. I think coming, as a young professional coming into the job market or coming into a community, a board can seem intimidating, but it's not. I am the same way. There's not been a board that I've served on where I felt out of my league or like I was, like I didn't fit in.
Yes.
Everybody here is just very welcoming and excited to have people willing to donate their time like that.
I agree. And when I was on the board of the Children's Museum, actually I was president when we were hiring for the executive director position. And I felt very much out of my depth because I didn't know anything about employment. We were interviewing candidates, and it was nerve-wracking at the time, but when I look back on it, I take so many skills from all the different boards that I've been on, and so much knowledge, and it's really grown me as a professional and as a leader that I really took away a whole lot more than I gave.
Sure. Yeah. Isn't that how it generally works?
Yes. Yeah. If you just do it, you're going to just learn and grow so much.
Yeah. Anything else you'd like to add?
No, I don't think so. I'm just grateful to be here. Thanks for the opportunity, and it was great to talk to you.
Yeah, thanks for giving us a little bit of education into Bre Law and what all goes on there, but specifically about your areas of focus and adoption and guardianship and estate planning and things like that. So thanks for joining us today, and we appreciate it.
Thank you.
That's it.
Thanks.
Make sure to like and follow Decatur Earth Mover Credit Union on our social channels for more content.